Hi. The recounts that are going on or will soon be going on in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania won't change a thing. Recounting is not just a function of adding up numbers again. It's basically a function of testing and checking whether all the people who voted are entitled to vote, and then throwing out the ballots of those that were not, and if there were people who were entitled to vote whose votes were not properly counted, counting them correctly. Now, that can really only be done with paper ballots. Machine ballots, it's just in the machine and you have no idea who voted how. So if we find out that John Doe voted and he shouldn't have, and we want to throw his vote out, we have no idea who he voted for. It's a secret ballot. Now, all of Pennsylvania's voting is done by machine. And there are 70,000 vote margin for Trump in that state. And you're never going to be able to overturn that with machine voting. Now, paper ballots are used for absentee purposes, and maybe in a few places, in a few states, in a few parts of Pennsylvania. And those can be scrutinized and will be, and many of the votes will be determined to be ineligible. And some of the people who didn't completely fill in the box or checked a box that's vaguely near one of the candidates, that could be counted, which had not previously been counted, but you'd never get enough of absentee ballots counted to change the result in a state like Pennsylvania. Just too much population, 70,000 votes is too big to overcome. Now, in Michigan, there's a better chance of a change because it's only a 25,000 vote margin, which is about 1 point, a little less than 1 point. But that, too, will be very difficult. Michigan has more paper ballots, so there might be more fighting over who's eligible and who voted how. Wisconsin is the most likely change, only a 10,000 vote margin, which is only about 0.3%, and it might be overturned there. The nightmare scenarios about recounting and screwing with election results come from places where there are very, very, very narrow margins. Al Franken, for example, was elected to the Senate over Norm Coleman, the Republican, after the election day tally said Coleman had won by 200 votes, and then after several recounts, Franken won by 200 and was seated. And the issue there is always judgmental. Did the person mean to check the box? Did they mean to check the other box? In Pennsylvania, for example, they're saying that there are 85,000 people who did not vote for the top of the ticket, but voted for the rest of the positions, and that's unusual. Well, it's also realistic in this election, since so many people didn't like either candidate. So it's a lot of noise. Could possibly affect Wisconsin, but I even doubt that. The danger is that once you get a recount, you can then really open it up, and some chicanery can take place. In the Coleman versus Franken recount, an envelope containing 133 ballots was and remains lost, and nobody knows what's in them. And that was almost enough to affect the entire margin of the election. But here, where you have machine voting, it's not likely to succeed, and it's really just a stunt to distract attention. Now, Trump, for his part, is quite right that probably lots, I don't know about 3 million, but lots of illegal immigrants may have voted in the election, and without photo ID, we'll never know. But I think we can be pretty confident that photo ID will be implemented. While I've got your attention, I just want to mention again that the key question that's looming is whether or not the filibuster is going to be repealed. With it repealed, we can move ahead quickly. If it remains in place, we'll have to bargain with Schumer and the Democrats over every single bill and every single appointment. We have it in our cans as the Republican Party to oppose that, to kill it. And we have to bring pressure on our Republican senators to vote against the filibuster. Thanks very much for watching.